Hey guys, this is the last video for our Trumpet of the Swan series. We have been doing a DIY language arts, that's what I like to call it. And we are ditching the all-in-one curriculum and instead using novels to practice language arts. My family and I love doing language arts in this way, and I really wanted to share it with you guys with a whole novel to kind of give you that full experience so you can kind of see what it's like. It's really made language arts not feel like school at all. It's just us reading books and enjoying books together. So this is the fourth week of this study. Now, there are some of you that might have already finished the book or you're really close to finishing. If that's the case, I wouldn't do another passage study. You can just joyfully finish the last chapter or two of your book and call it. If you still have a ways to go and you want some language arts work, I am going to give you a fourth passage to do that with. I'm going to be honest, we just finished up our school year, so we will not be doing the passage study. However, we are going to finish the book together. And that's what's really cool about this. My kids just don't even make the connection that this is school. We're just reading, and to them, that's what it is. So that, I just won't do the passage study, but we'll just keep reading the book. And that's what I really love about the freedom of these novel studies. So let's dive in. Let's pick our passage. If you have not watched the first video of this series, that's the one that's going to give you all the details about how this comes together, how we schedule our days, how we do our lessons. That's the most important one. So be sure and check that out. If you've seen that already, let's go ahead and let's pick our passage. All right, so we're just going to skim through this and we're going to find a passage that jumps out to us. Okay, I found one and I just didn't even look that long. I think it's probably been 30 seconds. I kind of had a goal this time. I really wanted something with quotation marks. The reason why is because I feel like we haven't practiced quotation marks in a while, so I wanted to throw some in there. I found one that has a couple of words that I think would be fun to talk about, and I also think it tells us something about Lewis's character. So I think it'll be a good one. I'm gonna flip this camera around. We're gonna fill out our page. I'm gonna copy this into our passage template, and then we will pick out our spelling and vocab. Okay, I didn't even have to print out another one because we printed this one last week. So this was week 3 right here, and this is week 4. So this is the passage I've chosen. It starts right here, and it's going to be this little section. So I'm going to just copy it here. So here it is written out. The first day we read it through, I'm definitely going to point out the contractions to make sure she knows what they are and what they mean, what they stand for. And then we will talk about, what Sam is trying to tell this person and what he is saying about Lewis. What is he saying about Lewis's character? You can even ask questions like, do you agree with Sam? Do you think that he's an honorable bird? Do you think that Lewis is doing the right thing by earning money? I think you can definitely get some opinion there. All right, so let's pick out some spelling words. I'm going to do the words with contractions. So there's he's, honorable, said might be a good one. I think it'll probably be an easy one for her, but I'm going to put it on there. Weren't, honest, true, wouldn't, bothered, earn, storekeeper. Let's do trumpet. I can't remember if we've done that one yet. And swiped. I can actually just look. Nope. All right. Here are our spelling words. So let's go ahead and write the vocabulary words we want to look at. Honorable is a great word. And honest, bothered, and swiped is what I'm going to use. I'm going to make a note on here to look at contractions. Okay. And I'm also going to make a note that quotation marks, we might need to do some reviewing. Where do they go? Why are they there? Oh, looky here, I forgot one. Okay, so we'll definitely be talking about that as well. Remember that you can change this as you wish. If you don't like any of these words, you can take them out, or if some of these seem too difficult, you can change them to easier words. If I were doing this with a younger child, I might just do one sentence. Maybe this first one, he's an honorable bird, said Sam. And then we could still talk about quotations, even though it's really short. I think it's a great example of contraction,
vocabulary, but also using quotation marks. So definitely you can change this as best fits your child.
Now that our passage is picked, I want to give you guys a couple of options for the written narration portion. So once a week, I have my child do a written narration. And for this novel, I have picked picture books, really great picture books, good quality ones, that she reads on her own and writes about them. And I have loved doing that. I love the connection it makes with the book. I love what she's learning separately. She did one on Swan. She did one on some fairy tales. So it's just been really good. I'm definitely going to keep trying to do that as we do these novel studies. For this last week, I actually have 2 different options of books, and I want to tell you about them both and let you choose what you want to do. Now, I have not read these books in full. I have only looked at previews and read a review. I think one of them I watched on YouTube. It had the whole book on there. So you can decide what direction you want to go. I'm going to link these books down here, but be sure and check your library. They might have them there so that you could get them for free. Okay, so the very first book is a book called Just a Lucky So-and-So, the story of Louis Armstrong. So this is going to be super fun because we've got another trumpet player named Louis. And so I thought that would be such a fun way to connect the story with something else. So this book is the one I actually saw on YouTube, so you could just watch it on YouTube if you wanted. You get some history, you'll probably learn a little bit about music, and honestly, my daughter walked by me when I found it, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Louis Trumpet!" So it was just a cute little connection. So definitely check that one out. The second option is a story called The Swan Boat Ride, and it is written by, let me check my thing, Frances Driscoll. It is a story about a little girl that goes on the Swan boat ride in Boston, the same Swan boat ride that Louis was leading in the story. How cool is that? So this is the one that I have not read. If you go on Amazon, you can look at a sample, and also the reviews were really good for this. So that kind of trusts me enough to at least get it at my library to read it with my kiddos. So that's 2 options. Read them both if you want, but if you're looking for something for your child to maybe write about what they're reading, that would be what I would pick. So you've got the Louis Armstrong story or the Swan boat ride, and that's what we're going to do for written narration this week. Let me give you another brief look at the schedule. This is the same schedule that we've been following. You'll notice on Monday we're going to be looking at the passage and really kind of focusing on that, doing vocabulary and spelling. It's also a great day to look at punctuation. On Tuesday, we are doing the written narration where we read that story. If your child is not ready to write about what they're reading, definitely a good one to read to them and they can narrate to you orally. On Wednesday, that's kind of your catch-up day. What didn't you cover? Wednesday is the day that I usually think, oops, punctuation, let's take a look at it. So you're definitely just prepping them for when they do their dictation, which is on Thursday. Once you finish the book, sometimes it's really fun to do a little celebration, a little recap. I want to show you something that my daughter and I have been doing this year, and I've really loved it because of the record that it keeps, but I'm not going to lie, there's a part of it that it feels like a chore. It's a way that we notebook, and I've done a video about it here before. It's definitely worth it. I don't regret it, but now with a little busier schedule, sometimes it's hard to fit in, and actually the last couple of books that we've read, we haven't done it. So if you take a look at the binder, you'll see we basically just make what I call a book poster. And so we'll write the title at the top, we'll give it a star review, and then we write about we say what the book was about. And then we have 3 sections. We have favorite part, favorite character, and something you learned. And so we record it in these cute little book posters. And I actually do one with her, so it's this like bonding experience. It's been a lot of fun. I think that as we continue to do this, and as I hopefully add in another kiddo to do the same kind of passage study, I might say no to the book posters, which makes me sad because they're really cute. But the thing is, that's something that you can have a conversation about and know the same information. Does that make sense? So I hate to make them do work if we can just talk about it. And I think that's kind of my goal. So, when we finish the book, I'll ask each kiddo, what was your favorite part? What was your favorite character? What is something that you learned? That's the great thing about homeschool. We don't really need these worksheets and these paper copies of things. We can assess and discover what our children have learned based on our conversation. So that is probably what I will be doing. But if you did want a cute little product like that, I definitely would recommend something like a book poster. It's really a lot of fun. I did enjoy it, but to simplify it even more, I think I'm just going to have a conversation with the kiddos to cover the same stuff. Okay, so another great thing to do is maybe like a book celebration. Sometimes people want to make a treat or have a tea, and this could be another opportunity for you to just talk about the book. If you wanted to do a little treat, I saw online a recipe for watercress sandwiches, which would be super fun, but also super weird. I don't know if I want one, but I'll link that for you here. It would be fun to do watercress sandwiches and tea. I also saw on Amazon you can get a Swan cookie cutter for about $8. So if you want to spend money on a cookie cutter, you can make Swan cookies. If you didn't want to do that, you could do something as simple as putting white icing on a cookie and calling it Swan, white for a swan. You just, sometimes if you can't go the intense route, you just make something up and you say it's connected to the book. So if you want to make a cookie and say that Lewis liked cookies, then do it. Just have a good time, enjoy the conversations about the book, and really just enjoy the bonding with your kids over some really good novels. So, another one I saw was a bird's nest treat, and we've made that before when we read a different book, so I'll see if I can link my blog post that I did that in. But just little things that you can make related and really have a good time with the book. The other thing I want to mention, there is a movie about the Trumpet of the Swan. It's an old animated film. I have not seen it, but we do plan to watch it. We also recently watched a movie called Fly Away Home. It is about geese, not swans. However, it's kind of relatable because you're learning about birds and migration and all this. It's a great family movie. I will say I heard one bad word. So just if you do those little, reviews on online so you can kind of see, but I think it's rated PG. It was a beautiful story. I cried at the end, but I cry at everything. Another great movie. There's also a movie recently that come out, so I have not seen it and I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to look into it and preview it. So don't take this as a recommendation, but it's a movie called Migration. It's also about birds migrating, and even though it's not a swan, I think this story is still relatable. So if you wanted to finish this off with a movie, you could. You could also do the Swan Ballet. Is it Swan Lake? Is that what it's called? That would be a fun one to do. And if you have little girls, I know there's a Barbie version, so that's really fun. So many different ways that you could go with this, you guys. It's just, I think, you don't want to get too picky about how close it is to the book. If you don't want to do a book celebration or some type of activity after the book, you don't have to do it. You don't have to watch the movie. That's the best thing about this, is you get to do with it what you want. I just wanted to offer you those ideas. If that was something that you were interested in, you could kind of just take a light week of language arts and just spend your language arts time having tea or a treat or watching a movie. How lovely does that sound? Am I right? One more thing I want to share with you. If you might have seen this in the binder when I showed that to you earlier, but you might be thinking, what do I do with these passage study pages? If you have a file that you keep your stuff in, that you could totally do that. I actually just put them in my kids' portfolio. We have a language arts section, and I just have them in a sheet protector, and honestly, they don't really even need a sheet protector, but I just put them right there. And if this one, we have 2 pages of it, so I'll just put them back to back and put it in one of these things. I love it because it really shows what we learned, the words we studied, the different grammar things that we studied, so the vocabulary that we studied. I like having that record. In my state, we don't need a record like that, but if you did need one, this might be a great way to do that. So it also it keeps a record of the books that you're reading, so you can go back and see the books that you read throughout the year. So I've only been doing this template for probably the last 4 months or so, And so before that, the only record I had was these book posters that I showed you. So either way could be kind of a record and a portfolio for a novel study like this. So that's wrapping up our Trumpet of the Swan. This was a lot of fun to share this method with you guys. This is how we do our language arts. We do not use a workbook, and we have learned so much. We have read so many books together, and it's just been really a big blessing to us. It doesn't feel like school at all. So that's kind of where I was going with this. I felt like when we were doing the language arts, it was constantly a chore to get it out and do it and blah, blah, blah. And now it really feels fun and enjoyable. And pretty soon I'll be adding in my other kiddos as well. They read the book with us, but they don't necessarily do the passage study just yet. So we are almost there. And if you were interested in adding a younger kiddo, I do have a video on how to kind of change that up, because I did do a novel with 2 of my kids previously before this, and it was actually a lot of fun. So I'll link that here too. I hope you guys enjoyed the book. I hope when you finish it, you find it to be a really memorable book for your family. This was a lot of fun, and if you're interested in doing something like this again or seeing more like this, I can also put them in a blog post where it's written out. So I'd love to hear your feedback on what you're thinking.